Hi guys, it's me. Yes, it's Lily, and I'm back with Talk Crypto to Me, the show that is taking you on a journey of discovery all about crypto and NFTs, because it's such an interesting topic and we all want to know what is going on in that world. So today I've got none other than Spencer Lodge on my show. He interviews some crazy people all in the world of business, entrepreneurs, and of course, crypto. I'm going to put him today in my hot seat. Yes, I'm interviewing him for a change. Let's see how he likes it. I also set myself a challenge this week. I took $1,000 and invested in crypto. And guess what? No word of a lie, I made 10% in 1 week. So I'm going to be doing this on a weekly basis. So let's see next week if it goes up or if it goes down. So let's get chatting to Spencer and see what did he recommend that we do. Perfect. So today...
The end.
It's finished now. It's over. Yeah, we're just talking crypto. We're done with it. Right, today I am with Spencer Lodge and we are going to be talking crypto. So first of all, we're going to start back. I think it's best to talk about your journey of how
You're
you
tall
got
and
into
you're
crypto.
sitting up and you make me look like I'm short.
I'm pretty tall,
I'm like,
I'm like a giraffe.
Dudley Moore sitting there.
It's not the most comfy seats. We need to get them ones changed. But yeah, we just like an overview. I mean, obviously, so you left school when you were 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then you managed to develop into having $1 million company by the age of 23? 26?
No, so I'd made my first million when I was 26.
26, okay.
And then when I was 28, I had $1 million in the bank. So making $1 million and having $1 million in the bank were two different things.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, from the age of 28, I was probably the most difficult, arrogant, obnoxious shit on the planet.
Did it change or something? I'm joking. I'm joking. I take
Wow. First question on the podcast. Meow.
This time I'm interviewing. I mean, you're used to being the one that's interviewing, so I'm roles reversed today. So I'm asking you the questions.
Go for it.
But yeah, so how did you go from, leaving school at 16, and then how did you develop this understanding of getting where you were at like 26, 28?
So I was born in Essex, went to school, was shit at school. I came out with 1 O level.
Okay.
All I wanted to do was be a ski instructor.
Ski instructor, okay.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of doing that. Obviously, you don't earn a lot of money. And my mum had a recruitment consultancy in Bishop Stortford.
Yep, I know Bishop Stortford.
And one August, she came and kicked me out of bed. She's like, come on, you got to get a job. And I'm like, I've got a job. She's like, it's August. I'm like, I'm researching. And so she got me a job at Stansted Airport, putting food into the little trays for the economy class people.
Okay.
So I did that for about 4 weeks. It was painful, like you wouldn't believe. And so then she got me 3 job interviews. One as a trainee car salesman, one was a trainee office equipment salesman, and the other one was a trainee estate agent. Well, the car salesman was at a dealership in Bishop Stortford, a BMW dealership, and it came with the BMW 3 Series. I'm like, sold! I'm in! That's the job for me! I was like 17, 18, whatever it was. And I got sacked after a month for having a bad attitude.
Oh, gosh. But your mum was like, very disappointed. Go back to skiing.
So then I took the job in office equipment, and I learned how to sell office equipment, and my patch in the city was EC3.
Okay.
And that's all I was allowed to work in. It was like not EC4, not EC2, nothing, EC3 only. And so I used to have to knock on doors every morning and make cold calls every afternoon, and I was just trained really well how to do it. And so then
who trained you? Was someone you in the company?
You wouldn't believe the messages I've got from his son since he passed away.
Oh.
Because he was like a father to me, Eric Pomfret. I'll never forget what he taught me, what he did for me, and the impact he had on my life. And when I brought my book out a few years ago, I dedicated it to him, and he found out about it.
Oh.
And it was really emotional. Anyway, but he passed away. But his son Gavin contacted me, and he's like, he's got 2 sons, and you're one of them.
Oh,
and I was just like, oh. But I'll give you an example of what he taught me to do. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done cold calling?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's not fun, is it?
No, absolutely hated it.
So he said to me on the first day of the job, he said, you've got 100 people you want you to call, yeah? Mm-hmm. I want you to get 100 people to say no. That was my face. No? And I'm like, why no? He's like, go and find 100 people. Don't question me, just do as I tell you to do. So I got on the phone, I didn't know what I was doing, I had this script in front of me, I was making these calls, and as I'm making the calls, everyone's basically saying no, and in London, F off and P off and everything else that goes on with it. And so I got to the end of the day and I went back. I said, I've got 100 no's. And he walked out of his desk, behind his desk, over to me, gave me a high five. He said, awesome job. Well done, son. I'll see you tomorrow.
I bet you were like, whoa.
Well, I didn't know what was going on. So next day I get in and he's like, right, excellent job. He goes, you know what you did yesterday? I'm like, yeah. He said, do it again today. I'm like, what, 100 no's? He said, yeah, go find me 100 no's. You need to find those no's. Don't let me down. Go and find those no's. So again, I got on the phone, and even if someone was vaguely interested, I'd be like, yeah, but it's probably not the right time.
You don't need that office equipment.
Why don't you think about it? Call me back in 3 months. I was talking people out of it. And then on the third day, he said to me, right, what I want you to do is I want you to find 99 no's today and one yes. What I didn't know he was teaching me at the time, he was teaching me to understand rejection, and that rejection was a really important part of getting acceptance. And by teaching me that it was important, it then took away any fear that I had of ever making cold calls.
Yeah.
And a load of people fail in sales because they get scared of picking up the phone and someone being rude to them.
Yeah.
Or rejecting them. And you know what happens, if you get dumped by a boyfriend, the first thing you want to do is get back together. Now, 6 months later, you look at it and you're like, what was I thinking? But in that moment, because somebody's taken something away from you, you've been rejected, you want it even more.
Yeah.
That's the same in sales, someone rejects you, like, oh, it's just hurt my heart, don't say that. So it taught me rejection, and that then enabled me to go forward and build a career where I knew I had to seek no's before I got a yes. So it's almost like I knew I needed to earn my yeses, as opposed to expect them.
Interesting.
That was a game changer.
Wow, and that's what got you to the point where you...
Yeah, so then I got into financial services, went over across to the Far East, and I'd been on the phone, battering the phones every day. So my first day on the phone in the Far East, I made these calls, nothing different. But everyone was saying yes. 17 people agreed to meet me, one on the telephones. Now, in that office, no one had ever seen that before.
Like, what's this magic?
What are you doing? Exactly, what's the magic? And all I'm doing, I'm making these phone calls. There's someone at your door.
Who is that? Well, that was interesting. Rachel, you ordered something. We're in the podcast.
So going back to it, what happened is I made these calls. People were saying yes, but when I was calling them, I couldn't believe how polite people were. I was calling people up and talking to them about their money, and when you're selling office equipment, the first response from anyone is no. But when you're talking to people about their money, the response was a bit different. People were open-minded, and I'm like, it can't be that easy, surely. But it was, because I was talking to something about, like I said to you earlier, 3 things people want to buy, lose weight fast, significance, followers, and get rich quick.
It's meant to even think that. Followers comes up now. People are like, I just want following. I want to be popular.
And that's the interesting thing. If you understand social media, following now is really dangerous because it's not valuable, because the social media channels can change the rules. What you need is community.
Yeah.
Okay, so having a WhatsApp group, or having a Telegram group, or a Discord group, those groups, every single time I post something in that group, if you're in that group, you'll see it.
Yeah, it's true.
But if every time I post something on Instagram, you're one of my followers, you might not see it.
Exactly.
So that was another shift. Sorry, I'm digressing.
Building up your community. No, of course, because it even relates to crypto, about building up
So
communities.
basically what happened is I learned about the world of investing, and my boss said to me when I worked in financial services, the first day on the job, he's like, you're not going to see any clients. I was like, why not? He's like, because you don't know shit. And I was like, I do. I read The Sun. And so what he did is he gave me 9 books. He said, read those books. He said, once you've read those books, come back with each book and give me a summary on each book. And they were like financial books, like proper boring financial books. I couldn't understand them.
Next page.
Yeah. And he was like, you read the Financial Times every day from now on. You don't read the red tops. And again, the Financial Times is such a boring read by comparison. But once I started to see what was going on, and it kind of like started to come together, it was like, this is where the real people make money. This is where money's made. Now, one guy said to me, the only way you'll ever get rich is working with money. And that kind of really stood in my mind. And I thought, okay, I better keep that. And so then I just became thirsty to learn and learn. And then as time went by, whatever those asset classes were in different markets that I could be invested and involved with, I just became really passionate about. I also became really passionate about young people like you f***ing up your finances, or old people getting divorced, and having nothing for their retirement, or people not insuring their families, against anyone dying. All this kind of stuff I got really passionate about, and it was a bit of a crusade almost, because I'd meet someone like you, 28, and I'm like, right, you're 2 years ahead of when you should start for your retirement planning. Okay, why not start now? Okay, and people were like, I'm 28 years old, doesn't matter, I'm only young. But you're not. Okay, you're not. You're 28. Okay, and what does every 28-year-old want to do? They want to have financial security and financial independence sooner rather than later. They say that it's all upside down because at this time in your life, when you're living it and breathing it and spending it, why can't I have the money now? Because I won't need so much when I get older. Yeah, you know, when you get to my age, all the things that interest you, I couldn't give a shit about. You know, people.
The party life.
Yeah, well, my wife, she's got something called the Russian Social Club here. It's her business. She comes from a very wealthy family. She's lived this really extravagant life. And she's like, you need a new car. And I'm like, but I like my car. And she's like, but you need a new one. And I'm like, why? And she was, we need to buy some clothes. And I'm like,
that's the best mentality ever. Of course,
but
shopping.
I don't like that. But when I was
You're
your age, everything was about those kind of things. The car, the clothes, you know, how I could impress people with the look, I've got no watch on.
Of course, that's why Rachel's getting deliveries all the time. She's like, I've got someone to impress.
So basically, once I got really passionate about all of those things, I then built a career around that, and I became, you know, whatever measure of success you want. For some it's a lot, and some it's not a lot at all. But I became successful. I then started various businesses, and then those businesses have become successful as well. And then, what really taught me about how crypto worked and how it made an impact on my life was, I had a podcast, and when I first started my podcast, I was able to land some really big guests, and I leveraged off the back of them, and there were lots of these conversations in the background about this crypto Bitcoin thing, and it wasn't all of the altcoins or the meme coins like the Shiba Inus and all this kind of stuff. It was just like a Bitcoin conversation that was taking place.
Because you were in there and involved in it when it was really just beginning, right?
Yeah, and at first I was like a lot of people, I'm like,
what's going on here?
You know, you got a degree in chemistry. I mean, you would understand like that. I'm sitting there, you know.
Most people don't. Even like my chemist friends, I cannot say anyone's putting away much in Bitcoin, etc. Like, people don't really know what they're doing. I think that's why people have so many questions. And obviously, you've interviewed some crazy people. So, like, what do you feel like you've learned from them over the years?
So Meta Kovin said something really, really interesting to me. He said, I heard about this crypto stuff, and everyone was laughing at it. And he said, when you have a lot of people laughing about something, go and research it.
Okay.
He said, I take the opposite stance. He said, because the ones that generally laugh about something don't research it. They just get like a headline.
Yeah.
And then they judge it. Yeah. Like lots of people do. He said, but I knew there had to be something to it. So he was really important to me to shift my thinking a little bit. Because that was at the time that he just bought the most expensive NFT, and the word NFT didn't really exist before he bought this piece of art.
Not many people know what an NFT even is.
And so it made me stop and go, hold on a minute, the guy spent $69 million on a piece of art.
Bonkers, like absolutely bonkers.
And when I said to him, why'd you buy it? He said, I had to buy it.
Because people were laughing?
No, he said, I had to buy it because I had to prove to people that NFTs were important.
And he's put a value on that. Like, he's put that value of importance onto it.
And then when you talk to these types of people, then you go from I had to buy it, and I'm like, well, where did you put it? And he's like, well, where would you put it? And I'm like, don't ask me.
That's a very good
And back then I hadn't heard about the metaverse.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't clear on what it was, and so it's like, well, I've got my own
position in the metaverse.
plot of land. I've got my this, I've got my that, and so I'm going to put it in my art gallery in the metaverse.
And like, what is this metaverse? Which so many people are questioning. Obviously, you've got this understanding from what people have said, and you've got your background obviously in like wealth management. So how do you think people can, you know, use crypto in terms of investing and controlling their wealth?
The important thing to remember right now is that, as with everything, you can't sit and make excuses now. You can't sit around going, I don't get it, it don't mean anything to me. If someone was to teach me, it's costing you potentially millions not knowing it. And if I said to you today, you don't understand it, I'll give you $500,000, but I want you to write a thesis on it in 3 months' time. You would. It's that important. And of course there's volatility, and of course there's scams, but that's the same in every industry. Your friend Rachel works in the legal industry. There's scammy lawyers.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's banks that do bad things. They're bad. There's good and bad in everything. But like anything, the more you learn about it, the more time you take to study it, the better informed you will be and the better decisions you can make. And I think that for all of us, the first step is to open an account.
Okay.
And the reason I think that's important is because when we talk about something theoretically, that's one thing. When you talk about your 50 quid
And you're putting it
or
into
your
action.
500 quid or whatever it might be, the moment you do that, you've just put your money against something that you had to work for.
So you've got to you put a value behind it.
That's right. And then all of a sudden you get really interested. It's like, you ever been to the horse races?
Yeah.
Okay, so my dad loves horses. Okay, my mum, she'll go to the races with a frilly hat on, and she'll pick the horses based upon the colour of the shirt or the name. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So my dad will have studied it for days beforehand. We'd go there, he's all dressed up, she's all dressed up. My dad would say, this is the one. This is the one that's coming in. My mum would choose a completely different one. You know, one was called Dubai Dream once. I remember that.
That sounds good.
Dubai Dream. That's the one. And it comes in. And it comes in, and what happens instinctively, my mum, when she chooses the first one and it comes in,
she's like, I've got this.
Well, all of a sudden she's all over it. Okay. Now her theory's different, but she's all over it. If you were there with a glass of champagne with my mum, she wouldn't shut up about it. You know, it would be all about what one should we choose, what one should we choose.
I've got this,
you know, No, we just had 14 to 1 on that. All of a sudden she'll know odds. She doesn't. The moment she walks in, she's no idea what odds are. You know, she's put a tenner on, she's got 140 quid back. She's like, she still can't work out it's 14 to 1. But after that, right now I've got odds. Oh, we need to. Well, let's study the form. And I think that when you get a little bit of success, so if you invested, I don't know, 500 quid, let's just say 100 quid. Once that 100 quid is worth 120 quid,
it pushes you to
all of a sudden you're like,
this now has interest to me.
What's that about? But also, if you lose 20 quid and yet that 100 quid becomes 80 quid,
still,
okay, you're like, that hurts.
Yeah.
So do you want to just write that 80 quid off, or do you want to say, hold on, how am I going to get it back? And so any semi-intelligent person would be naturally inclined to want to earn more at that point.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it's all theory. I watch the guys on social media in the Bugattis thinking they're thieves and crooks and scam artists and criminals, because it's easier for me to do that than to sit down and say, what did he do and how did he do it?
How did he do it? Yeah. And so how would you recommend people, research a little bit? What sort of platforms would you use to look for research?
So in terms of opening an account, first thing I would do is whether it's, I like crypto.com, I like Binance. eToro doesn't buy the coin itself, but it's a very user-friendly platform. I think Binance can be a bit confusing for some people, whereas crypto.com is quite simple to understand. So I'd start off by just going and opening an account. I'd put 100 quid in there in cash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And unlike your mum, like just looking at colours or how it looks like, how would you actually know where to put your money?
Well, I'd do what any half-intelligent person would do if I wanted to study anything. I'd research who the leaders in that marketplace were. I'd research who the authorities in that marketplace were. And then I'd go and listen to what content they produce, or what white papers they produce, or what books they've written, so I can learn. And that might take me a few weeks if I dedicate, an hour a day, let's say. But if you dedicate an hour a day for a few weeks to learn about it, you're probably ahead of most people.
And would you be looking to take your profit out and reinvest, or is it something that you see as like a long-term hold? Obviously, wealth management. You should have some ideas here. Okay,
so you're 28 and I'm 52. I'm at a stage in my life where income's important, and you're at a stage in your life where growth's important. So for me, taking income on my investments is the best place for me to be.
Yeah.
For you, that's nuts. Okay, you should be growing your investments.
Yeah.
So I think it all depends on where that person is that's listening right now, where they are in their stage in their life cycle.
Yeah.
But for me, I look for investments that produce a yield for me, and when it comes to crypto, then that'll be staking the crypto sometimes, or alternatively, giving myself sellout points where I'm going to go to a certain price and I'm going to exit.
Okay, and then you'd reinvest again. Is that what you?
And I reinvest again, looking for opportunity. Some people, there are some coins that I've got that I've just gone, leave it there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you don't need the money because you've got a job or you've got other money, you don't need the money, then there's an argument that says leave it there for 10 years. There will always be people speculating. There will always be people buying and selling. The problem that you have with crypto and NFTs is the barrier to entry is really low.
Yeah.
So let's say you and I go out for dinner tonight talking crypto, and all we do is talk about it, and then we say, well, why don't we start a coin? There's actually nothing stopping us.
Interesting. What
Okay,
would you call it?
I was saying dinner. I was thinking of the flip chart stuff. It's a weird dinner that we go to with the flip chart.
It's like, let's start a coin.
Anyway, at dinner with a flip chart. Anyway, we go and sit in a meeting room and we've got a flip chart. Let's start. Well, why can't we start a coin? You can do it easy enough. Why can't we start an NFT? You can do it easy enough.
Because I guess everyone feels like there's barriers there in order to start it.
But there's the only barrier to entry of any of those two things is our level of intelligence.
But
and
what
application.
fundamentals would be, what would the application of that coin be? Because a lot of people don't realise there's so many applications actually.
How many coins do you think there are?
Let's say hundreds. Thousands.
It's 25,000 coins.
25,000, wow, okay.
You don't know about most of them.
Yeah, most of them aren't on the platform, so like we were saying on Binance, you haven't got 25,000 coins.
You've got a lot of them.
A lot of them.
So then I suppose that if you wanted to, you could do. So there's a possibility, and a lot of these pump and dump schemes that have existed over time have existed because someone started a coin and rode the price up. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then people like you and me go, I don't want to miss the opportunity. Yeah. And so I think it's important to understand that. First of all, you can get in and you can start your own coin if you really want to. If you want to invest in crypto and hold on to crypto, I have my own opinion on it, and so it shouldn't be regarded as advice for anyone. But I only involve myself in the top 5 coins. Okay. I don't get involved in anything else, and probably the reason is I've bought one of those altcoins before, and fingers have got burnt. And so I stick with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, and Cardano. And they're the ones mainly that I'm involved with. I own an NFT now. I've documented that on my Instagram channel with an artist that created an NFT. So I've gone through the whole process and filmed the buying process of buying your first NFT and what's involved. And NFTs to me...
So yeah, you're talking about NFTs. You do believe you're one of the ones that believes a lot in this growth of NFTs. And
I think NFTs are bigger than anything.
Really interesting.
I think that NFTs are way bigger than
Bitcoin, bigger than any
everything.
Interesting, because I always see it as more Bitcoin having the usage of it is so important. Being able to have this monetary fund which is finite and people can it's like an international currency. So for people that are listening that don't understand what an NFT is, you've got some fancy words. Non-fungible token. Yes, we understand what token is. We know what non is. What's this fungible word? Okay, I heard another word the other day, fidgetable or something. There's an NFT person. I was like, what the shit is that? Please explain.
Keep it simple. A non-fungible token is a digital contract that's kept a record of on the blockchain, which means it's a digital contract that everybody can see. If you and I have a contract, let's say I'm the landlord here, and I rent you this property,
yes, please.
And I agree you pay me £100 a month in rent, all right? And I come back to you later on, and I change the rules and change the terms, or I'll be awkward.
You go back to the contract,
or certain things that. But again, what's the value of a contract here?
I mean, if you're changing it, then there's no value to the contract.
Well, I'm going to kick you out, and you're like, well, you can't kick me out, and I'm like, well, want to bet?
You take it to the legal side.
You take it to the legal side. Yeah, you can. But how good is the legal system?
Not very great. Yeah, Please let me stay.
So all kinds of. I'm not going to. Or you leave, and I'm not going to pay you your deposit back.
Yeah, that's true. There's that.
Okay, that happens. All this nonsense that exists. A contract that's available to be seen on a public network is really important. And when you think about every single business eventually will have NFTs as their contracts. So the easy one to understand right now is ticketing. Okay. All right, so if you take tickets to gigs, let's say Coca-Cola Arena is the big place here. You're going to sell tickets to the Coca-Cola Arena. You sell them as an NFT.
Well, why would that be any better than having a QR code, say?
So why do you think? Any idea what the difference is?
I guess just the fact that a QR code could be recreated.
So in America, baseball cards are collected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about the value of those tickets to the Rolling Stones gig 10 years later as memorabilia. Okay, as a token, it's there forever.
It's very true.
Now let's say I bought that ticket and I've got that token, and you're really interested in that memorabilia, and 10 years later you're like, I'd like to buy it, and you buy it from me. Well, I say, you can have it for £1,000. Okay, so you pay £1,000 for it. Now you've got it. But forevermore, whoever you sell it to and whoever they sell it to, I'll always get 5% of whatever's sold.
So it's more about having values of actually having this
Abs-
all kept within the metaverse.
Or it's always keeping in the blockchain. The metaverse is something else.
Okay, because I always see NFTs being related to.
There is
metaverse.
relation, but the metaverse is something completely different. And for people of my age, it's really hard to really get our heads around it because, you know, I'm sure you have dated somebody before that sits and plays FIFA on his PlayStation.
Yeah, of course. Even my brother used to be obsessed with FIFA.
So, you know, I had a friend of mine that their boyfriend was on bloody Call of Duty all the time.
Yeah.
He spent every evening in this other world.
Virtual reality.
You know, buying, you know, his big screen was there, he had his headphones going, chatting to his mates, and they were shooting people up and whatnot, and they were buying extra guns and bullets and all this kind of stuff and all that crap. It wasn't a real world, it was another world, but he lives in that world. I don't. And so for me, learning about this other type of world that exists
has less.
It's more challenging for me. But the reality is, and it's sad, really sad for me, because I've got a 20-year-old and 22-year-old daughters, both at university, and it's really sad to think of young people like you having to spend, and that's because I'm melancholy and I'm old. It's not because it's wrong, all right? It's important. It's because I remember running down the street and playing with my mates, and the only time that play ended was when my mum came out the front door and she yelled down the street, "Dinner!"
And you're like, no, I'm not hungry.
And the thought of that not existing, I find that really sad. You know, I find that sad. Yeah. Back when I was a youngster, if I wanted to meet a woman, a girl, okay, I would be looking in a nightclub, okay, at 10 o'clock at night, thinking who I could eye up to get attention, who I could buy a drink for. Well, then we were all that guy.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Because there was
no Tinder,
there was nothing.
Swiping.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
The only way you could meet someone was at the office, okay, or your sister's mates, okay, or in the nightclub on a Friday night. That's how it happened. Mm-hmm. And I look at it and I used to think, oh man, the rejection we used to have to deal with doing that, and how easy it is now. So I'm not saying what's now is wrong. It's just I'm melancholy from an era that existed before. Yeah. And you know, I want other young men that I know to go through the pain I went through to find the right person. Rather than going, she'll do, no, she won't do, she'll do.
It's actually true. No one talks anymore when you're out and about. No one really feels the need to speak.
And this is where I think this whole digital space is taking over. And when that space takes over, what you have to remember is just like Tinder became a valuable business.
That's where this.
Okay, the metaverse will become a valuable place.
There's a lot of people that always are concerned and worried about taking that step, but it's sort of almost inevitable now that is going to happen. It's just how you get involved in it, and probably now is a good time, because I think that's what a lot of people also question is it still going to go up? Like things like Bitcoin, everything, is it still going up? Has it potential to crash? But
they say that about everything.
Yeah, it's true.
Everything's the same. We saw in 2000 when I was in the wealth management space. I was actually in Holland then, and the internet bubble burst. So all these people, receptionists, drivers, were all millionaires on paper, and all of a sudden, over the course of about 4 weeks, it fell off a cliff, and they lost all of that value. Mm-hmm. And people are like, "Well, the internet's over. That's it. It's done."
What do we do now?
And they were stuck in this place, and it was just like, shit, we were wrong. But it wasn't. It was just a reset. Yeah. And where you see prices go up and then prices come down, you have resets because you have people that hold stuff. And let's say I owned all of the world's Bitcoin, or 50% of it. Let's say I owned 50% of the world's Bitcoin, and I was wealthy, and I wanted to buy myself a big monster yacht, and that was going to cost $300 million, let's say. Well, I sell my Bitcoin. The moment I sell my Bitcoin, what happens is there's a huge flood of Bitcoin on the market because there's a load available for sale, okay, and there's not the demand to buy it, the price is going to come down. Because I'm saying, yo, buy it from me at 40,000, and you're like, well, I'll give you 30,000 for it. No, 40,000. You're like, well, 30,000. No, it's like, you'll buy it at the price you want to buy it.
Of course.
And so everything is only worth the price somebody wants to pay for it.
So there's going to be some volatility going on in the market, even into the future.
It's by comparison to everything else, it's new. But there's volatility in every market. There's volatility in the stock market. There's volatility in the currency markets, and they've been around forever.
Yeah.
It's just that we're more familiar with that. People are familiar with real gold. People are familiar with stocks.
Tangible. I mean, that's the issue here, is that we're talking about something that's not tangible, so people have concerns.
Look, 90% of people that buy crypto don't understand it. I would argue that maybe not as big a percentage, but still a huge percentage of people that buy stocks don't understand them.
Very true.
I often sit down with people and I'm like, here's a notepad. Describe a mutual fund. Tell me how it works. And they're like, yeah.
But we're not taught this in school, though. Do you not think there needs to be more education on this, potentially? Even crypto education.
We're not taught in school, yeah. We're not taught in school. But does that mean when you're 18,
we stop learning? That
you know all the stars of Gogglebox. Do you know what I mean? It's like when someone on Gogglebox dies, Ken from Southend's died. He's had a heart attack.
It's terrible.
It's like, well, how did you know Ken? Because you consumed Ken.
Yeah. It's actually very true.
So consume stuff that serves you.
So that you actually just go out there and research it, find out more about it.
Look, I love Formula One. I know all the drivers. I know the teams they drive for. I know who they used to drive for. I know the successes. I've met many of them. I understand that world because I invest time in that world.
So anything is all about investing. So if you want to invest in something, then you need to invest the time into it in order to make it your passion.
That you know about that I'll never know about because you have an interest in it and you've given the time to learn it. And if you want to make money and that's important to you, then you'll do that. Like that professor I was telling you about yesterday, he's obsessed with agri-tech. He's obsessed with changing the world and sorting the food security problem out. And he's like on a mission.
And that's what makes his business.
He's consuming everything he can that can teach him about that. Everything he can do so he can learn. Okay, he's doing that. And because that's what he cares about. So, and it comes back to those three things as well. No one wants to be fat. But people don't want to put the hard work in to lose the weight.
So if there was a quick scheme to do it.
That's right. No, everyone wants to get rich. Everybody does.
But no one wants to actually take the time.
But you can't, it's like being successful in business and moving up the career ladder and, all that kind of stuff. You've got to earn it.
Yeah.
You just got to earn it.
So it's about taking the time, and the only way you're going to earn it is by taking the time to actually learn more, educate yourself, be a master of what you actually want to, put into your life and add to your life.
Yeah. And again, what's funny about these things are a funny thing from a learning point of view.
I love these things.
These
things right here.
These things. And these things are critical because they essentially, they've made us humanoids because this is attached to us. Wherever we go, it's attached to us. But you can access everything in the world from here. Very true. Good and bad. Okay? Yeah. You yesterday, I saw on social media, were sunning yourself somewhere, yeah?
No, me? Never.
Yeah, you're having a sickie or something, yeah?
Oh yeah, Dad, don't tell my dad, no.
So, let's take that scenario. You can go to the pool and you can sit around the pool and you have a choice of anything in the world you want to consume.
And I was listening to your podcast. I mean, that is what a great moment, see?
Were you really?
I actually was. There you go. See, he thinks he can wind me up, but it's true. I was listening to your podcast. So look what I was consuming.
Well, and we're sat here right now. Isn't that an example?
Exactly.
And but you could have listened to Jamie Oliver's fast food thing. You could have done. You could have listened to millions of different things. Anxiety and depression, or whatever, get over love, or anything.
Yeah.
But that time that you were there, and it doesn't matter whether you're sat with a cocktail in your hand or a bottle of water and you're sunbathing. Maybe you like to sunbathe and I like to hike.
Yeah.
But if I want to consume the content I want to, I can. If it's going to serve me, it's good. Now, what ways does it need to serve you? One, you need to enjoy the subject.
Yeah.
Okay? And like with everything, at first, you don't always know enough about the subject to tell whether you can enjoy it or not. So how do you pick a hobby? We ever go at a few things and then you pick something. So let's go back to Formula One. I like that. Tell me someone that doesn't like making money.
I mean, there's not many people. Yeah, there's very minimal few.
If I said to you, whatever you've earned in the last 4 weeks, I'll double if you just watch my podcast.
I mean, and you'd be watching it all the time. I did it for free. Where was that? Damn, I should have held out there.
That's the big thing here. When people say, I just don't get it, it's because they're not trying hard enough to.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, if I give you a big stack of cash and I'm like, get it, you will find a way.
Yeah,
it's just what's important to you.
So that's how we're going to learn about crypto, is just by taking time to really listen and go to the experts, really.
Yeah, I mean,
successful.
Raoul Paul is a really good guy to teach crypto. Okay, he speaks really good plain English to teach you how it works, and he's funny and he's engaging. Bad Boy Crypto is a good guy on social media as well. Okay, he teaches you in a way that for me to understand. And interestingly, you were good at chemistry, yeah?
Yeah.
So I had a chemistry teacher called Mr. Arnott when I was at school. He was the world's most boring man.
That's why everyone hates chemistry, because it's always boring chemistry teachers.
But I had, what was her name? Mrs. Morgan, who taught me geography. I love geography.
You had Mrs. Morgan.
But she was great because I could identify with her. She made it an engaging subject. She made it interesting for me. So there's thousands of people teaching crypto. Listen to somebody. If they're not that, you're like, oh, no. Move on until you find someone that is palatable for you.
Mm-hmm. So it's just about finding your little niche and actually, as you say, just enjoy it. Go for it and actually make it your passion. So if you want to learn about crypto, you want to be making that money, you got to make it your passion. Well, I think we've covered everything well, as much as we could today. So thank you so much, Spencer. And we'll be coming back to you soon.